Call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum. We got 4 elementary trustees. We have 3 high school trustees. Carrie's online. So I think, Jack, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we're good. So stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First up is the approval of our last board meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Oh, thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Will, for the second. And Carrie, if you need us to slow down at all, please let us know. So it's moved by Rebecca, seconded by Will. Any discussion? Move over a seat.
You got a towel or a net right behind you?
Chair. I saw that there was a 50th reunion and they took their picture on the stairs and they moved the bucket. I was glad they moved the buckets for the 50th reunion
Shoot. Sorry about that.
Next time you show up. It's gonna take me a little bit. I'll get it.
All right. Is there any discussion on the agenda? Yeah, that. Thank you, Rebecca, from the minutes. All right. Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up, public comment. Do we have anyone here for public comment? Okay. You understand the rules. You got 3 minutes. Please do not discuss any pending legal matters, private personnel issues, or private student issues, or you'll be ruled out of order. You have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Turn that. There you go.
I got it, I think. Hello, my name is Jared Stump. I'm a teacher at Glacier High School, but I'm here talking as a community member today. I'm so grateful to the Central Administration and School Board for all their hard work on the Kalispell School District budgets. With the passage of both the $2.9 million high school levy and the Legislative STARS Act, my hope is that the Central Administration does not utter the words budget and shortfall in the same sentence this school year. It would be a welcome relief after a decade of hearing those words together. I do realize there still will be challenges with the district already seeing a few $100,000 deficit in the elementary budget, but hopefully we are well on our way of balancing our budgets under Matt's leadership. I was told by an administrator last year that I better check my numbers before getting on a hot mic at the board meeting and presenting misinformation. However, they did not respond to my inquiry about which numbers they think I presented that were erroneous. As always, I will do my best to get any facts that I present to the board correct, and please correct me and inform me if I'm mistaken with anything. It is in my best interest to help the district be successful as I work here. My goal at these meetings will continue to be to give some teachers' perspective to help educate the board and central administration about what teachers are thinking and saying about the decisions made in this room. I feel this is important because the teachers are often not at the table when financial decisions are being made. I was very encouraged at the news of the superintendent's new contract issued over the summer. I read in the board minutes that, and I quote, "This affects his compensation starting July 1st and would extend him to another 3-year contract with a 4.11% increase, parentheses, 2% on salary and 2.11% COLA, end parentheses," end quote. I'm pretty sure that the teachers at the top of our district's pay scale will be excited to hear this. The top paid teachers sacrificed a larger pay increase over the past 2 years to make it possible for the district to reset the starting teacher pay and qualify for the STARS Act monies. They will be encouraged that the central administration and board was feeling generous enough to give our administrators a 2% raise on top of the 2.11% COLA that the top paid teachers are getting this year. Hopefully the 26-27 budget will be able to pay these other groups a similar raise on top of the current COLA, whatever that is, for the first time in many, many years, because usually we only get the COLA. For example, the superintendent salary increase is going up over $7,000 this year, $7,400 about. The average administrator increase is going up about $5,000. And the top paid teacher salary increase is going up about $1,700. And if you count the increased off-schedule masters in career, it's about $2,300. So just to put that in perspective, the average administrator will be making twice as much in dollars this year than the top paid teacher, and the superintendent 3 times the raise, $7,000 instead of $2,300. So the gap continues to grow as we give more money to the administration and less to the teachers. The top teachers took less and the top administrators took more. And I'm hoping I can figure out the answer to this question. When will that stop? And I'm not sure about the time, but I really just, I would love to see it come back together. We made a big sacrifice to make that work. And I just feel like the administrators didn't make the same sacrifice. So I'd love for that to be, reconciled at some point. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jarrett. Any other public comment? All right, seeing none, moving on to personnel activity report. Carrie, anything special with that, or is it just business as usual?
No changes, but I do have a shout out if I might.
Yep.
Christine from food service sent me some numbers. She looked up her numbers for meals served with the summer program just for June and July. And for breakfast, they served 13,922 meals. And lunch, they served 19,395 meals. So we're really proud of them. I thought they should get a good shout out.
Thank you for that. Great numbers. It's nice that we're able to serve our students throughout the entire year. So with that, you have the personal activity report.
Move to approve the personnel activity report as presented.
Thank you, Rebecca.
I'll second.
Thank you, Sue. Any questions? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the additional FTE request for first grade. Matt, are you taking this?
Yeah, Sarah and I will tag team this. I just want to start out with saying that when we went through the reduction process and we were doing some projections on the budget versus the staffing ratios, we realized now we were too thin. And so just a bigger conversation outside of today is just looking at, how can we manage our staff FTE ratios and in alignment with our budget. And we're just going to need to continue to have that conversation at the elementary. We did some projections in the 90s, 90% of accreditation standards, and just our layout across the district is making that really challenging. And so this specific recommendation is we're sitting here in August and we're seeing the numbers, and we know, we're confident, no, we don't know, we're confident that we're going to need to add 1 FTE. We don't know the grade level I put in the recommendation, first grade, but it might be first, second, third, fourth, or fifth. What we're targeting is the grade level that has the least amount of flexibility, that's closest to going over on accreditation. We do have some flexibility in kindergarten, and I'll let Sarah jump in here in a second, but the overarching comment that I want to make is that at the elementary, we still have budget issues related to FTE. It's related to the funding mechanism. We all know this, but we were putting out a ballpark of where we thought we could be, and we're recognizing now it was too tight.
Thanks, Matt. I actually don't have a bunch more to add. I will share just some specific data on what grade levels we're really concerned about. First is definitely one of them. When we looked at trying to get to a place of budget neutral, we were reducing 14 FTE at the K-8 level. And that would create a situation where we had to be at about 94% 100% capacity in our core level classes. And we have been working on metrics with the business department in terms of like, hey, if we're under that, it could be in a time where we transfer staff to other places that are in higher need. If we're over that, it should trigger additional FTE requests, right? So Eric and Chris built a really great capacity sheet for me that pulls data directly from PowerSchool. And so Judy and I are able to see in live time what enrollment looks like. Same with Heidi Rogers at the middle school. The middle school right now is sitting at just shy of 92% capacity. So they're sitting in a strong place. I would think 90 to 93% capacity is kind of where we want to be. 94 is probably pushing it, as we're kind of finding out. On the elementary side, this is across all 6 elementary schools, or the K-5 side, we're at 95.64% capacity. There are some grade levels that are completely full. First grade across the district, across all 6 schools, we have -1 seats. So what that ends up looking like is if the max in first grade is 20 students per classroom, there's going to be someone that has 21, right? And we know that if we go over in classrooms, that we support that teacher by some para FTE. So there are some things when we go over that we'll be able to support teachers with in terms of instructional para time, but that can't be a fix long-term. And then the next grade level is 4th grade. I currently have 1 seat across all 6 schools. So 95.64% capacity. If we're looking at individual school sites, it ranges from 93% to 96%. So some schools have a little bit more wiggle room. In kindergarten, we currently have 45 seats. It's the highest grade level, but what we know about kindergarten is parents register last minute, typically, historically. So when Judy and I crunch numbers about enrolling all of our kids, if the same amount of students enrolled from today through the time of school starting as they did last year, we'd have about 15 seats. So I'm very reluctant to shift a kindergarten FTE somewhere else because historically we know in 2 to 3 weeks before school starting is when we get a big bulk of kindergarten enrollments. Hiring a teacher, recruiting a teacher, and hiring a teacher this time of the year is really, really challenging. But so the request today is to approve the FTE pending capacity percentages continue to increase. Right now, we're already over that 94% mark at 95. I'm anticipating long-term, if enrollment stays the same, I could see the K-5 district needing to either do some shuffling or hire 1 to 2 more core area teachers.
2 questions. So one, as you mentioned, the kindergarten traditionally does have a large number of last minute signups. What about 1 through 5? Do they also get that last minute sign up, or are we not seeing that in the past?
No, not as much.
And
So
we're pretty sure that the K was not people moving in for specific reasons that have gone away. We think that we're still going to see that sort of.
it's a trend that, from what Judy said, and Matt could answer this, that has been multiple year trend where we get last minute kinder enrollments.
And my second question is, so what we're approving today is not a half FTE for first grade, but for you guys to add as needed to try and keep it close to that 93% or whatever is needed number. Okay. I just
Correct.
wanted to make sure everyone's sure that we're not just saying 1/2 FTE is okay. We're saying do what you got to do.
Yeah, it's a 1.0 FTE request to use at the K-5 level to potentially hire another classroom teacher.
But it might be 2.
No.
Right now, the request is just 1.
And we have a position posted at Russell, so we could draw from that same pool. So there is some things in the works already that help the hiring of that. I think we've gone about as far as we can with the things we can control related to anticipated student enrollment. The kindergarten is always an interesting, it's the first time a lot of those kids come to school. Just summer activities like the fair trigger people's memory of, oh, I should get my kid registered for school. And Judy has that longitudinal information and knowledge about how that works. And kindergarten and 5th grade are interesting also in the elementary because, the accreditation standard might be 20 kindergartners, but it's hard to have 25-year-olds in a group. So if we're going to have a grade level that is below accreditation, it's nice that if it's kindergarten. The accreditation standard goes up to 30 in 5th grade. And so when you're talking about 30 kids in a classroom, 30 fifth graders in a classroom, that's also an area where you would like to be below the accreditation standard. The thing we can't predict is how many people move and don't notify the district that they've moved, and we don't know until school actually starts.
Mhm.
So that's the variable that's still out there, that we can't control. We have to go on who we think is showing up and filling rosters. But the other things were what we can control. Sarah and Chris and Eric and Judy especially have done a really nice job of being, corralling all the information we can control and keeping it organized. The last lever I'll mention that we can pull is out of district, and it's just a bad deal to go back to out of district and deny out of district after they've been approved. And you have to hit a timeline where you can approve them earlier in the year so people can plan on where they're going in the fall. So we can't leave out of district families hanging until the first day of school. We have to make those decisions and staff accordingly. And we followed what we think are really appropriate timelines for all those decisions with out of neighborhood, out of district, and then working the projections. But we really won't know until count day or until first day of school or whenever. Yeah, after the first week of school, we have a pretty good idea.
And we do have, people will leave as well as people come, but we're still okay on physical space. We're not okay on number of teachers per students, but we're grand on number of classrooms at the moment.
That's correct. We have the capacity from a facility standpoint to add several different classrooms. I wouldn't say several, but a few different classrooms. In this case, we're only talking about one. Yep. Good question. Thank you.
Any other questions?
All right. Seeing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Ursula. Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Thank you, Rebecca. Any further questions for staff? Go ahead.
Actually, it's a comment, which I know it should have been before, but I just wanted to really, really say to the five of you, thank you for putting in a flexible system. Thank you for not getting attached to that system in the moment it says, well, maybe we set a number, maybe it's not the right number, to be rethinking it. I'm awed at what a great job you guys are doing at the moment. And I really, really want to hope you guys know that it's really true, that it's not every human being who can make a system, not get attached to it, be flexible, put a system in with flexibility in the first place. It's awe-inspiring.
I really appreciate that, Rebecca. Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Right.
Carrie?
Bye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up is the budget report. Chris?
All right, so this is our annual budget adoption meeting where by state law, we have to adopt our budgeted funds budgets. Did I say budget too much in that sentence? One more time, budget. What I'll do is just kind of give an overview of our current budget situation for this coming year and kind of go over a lot of the information that's in the following two agenda items. One is to adopt the elementary budgets and then the other to adopt the high school budgets. So to get going, like I said, we'll just go over kind of what the budgeted amounts are.
Chris, can you share the presentation with Peter and the board?
Oh, is it not linked?
It's on there. It's in the link. It's online anyway.
I sent it. Oh,
My bad. Sorry.
got her. All right.
All good.
So we'll just go through the budget amounts that are being proposed that we adopt at the meeting. Talk through a couple other things, financial kind of processes and procedure stuff that we're implementing this year. One being a a formal system for capital project planning and capital expenditure. So larger purchases over $25,000. Kind of talking through what our process will be for that kind of going forward. A little talk around sustainability, which we'd kind of already talked with staffing metrics being a key piece of that. And then we'll just look at our interlocal balances because we had a total transfer out of about $3.2 million net to balance everything at the end of the 25 year. So,
Hey, Chris, just real quick, how much did we transfer in to the interlocal? And you may go over that real soon, but
yeah, so it would, Scott, have been like 220-ish, but the net, so the 220 is included in that 3.2 decrease. So is the interlocal essentially decreased by 3.2 million after that transfer in. Does that make sense?
yep,
Or, yeah.
thank you.
Yep. Okay. So first slide up is the budgets in the elementary districts that we'll be adopting tonight. The most important, obviously, is our general fund budget. That's where the vast majority of our operating expenses and salaries are paid out of. In the blue column, it gives you a comparison of what the budget was for the fiscal year 25 and then 26. And then the third blue column shows the change in budget. So for the elementary general fund, we will see an increase this year of about $1.4 million. That sounds like a substantial amount of money. It's actually not. That will cover the majority of everybody's steps and the increase to the salary schedules that we approved in the 25 year or prior to that possibly. But my anticipation is that this year we'll have a very tight elementary budget, and we'll go over a little more detail on why. We'll probably face an ongoing challenge on the elementary side indefinitely until we see some kind of structural legislative changes. But for this year, it'll be very, very tight, perhaps a few $100,000 deficit, give or take either side. We're going to be tight. In total, across all of our funds, we'll see an increase of about 6.6% in our revenue. For our taxpayers, even though we're going to see increased revenue about 6.6%, they'll only see an increase in taxes of about 1.8%. So pretty beneficial for our elementary taxpayers. Each of the budgets we adopt, our general fund, transportation fund, is where we pay all of our bus driver salaries and cover kind of the fleet maintenance. Bus depreciation is where we buy our buses. Our tuition fund is where we fund a lot of our self-contained programs, so life skills, as well as Aspire. Retirement is just a levy that covers retirement benefits and Social Security, things along those lines. Adult ed is straightforward. Technology is the levy that we have, well, I guess was approved in the 25 or 24 school year, sorry. That's that budget. Building reserve and debt service are kind of straightforward, speak for themselves. Any question on any of the elementary budgets?
On the voted elementary levies, are we pulling the full amount that we've asked for? I know some years we take a little less. Are we at the full amount that we've requested at this point?
Yeah, we are. So on the two kind of levies that we have discretion on that way are the general fund one and the technology one. The general fund, we are taking as much as we are permitted to take right now. On the technology levy, that was originally passed as a mill levy. But this past legislative session, there's some new laws that have gone into effect that effectively end the mill levy. In a way, it was to our advantage because the taxable valuation fell fairly considerably for the elementary district on a year-over-year basis, which would have reduced that levy, but we're able to lock it in at last year's fixed dollar rate. So as taxable values rise in the future, that won't be in our best interest, but for this current year it is. Any other questions on the elementary side? Yeah, go ahead.
How do taxable values go down? Like the values of houses went down? Is that like enough to balance out even with new construction?
Right. Yep, that's correct. They fell on the elementary side by about $7 million. So on a $96 million valuation last year, we're about 7% or so. Any other questions on the elementary side? All right, on to high school. Great news on the high school side is we are going to see a fairly significant increase on the high school general fund budget this year. Obviously, in large part due to the levy passing, which accounted for about $2.7 million. The STARS Act was also very beneficial. And then there was some funding for the charter schools that we didn't anticipate. And then even the funding we were counting on, it looked like it was going to get pulled away. And then David Beatty, what a legislator, got a bill through that reversed all of that and then actually made our situation better than what we had anticipated. So in total, we'll see about a $4.3 million increase in revenue. The high school general fund will be in a stable spot this year. We do have a lot of capital infrastructure issues to address, but we'll talk through some of that stuff as we go along here. In total, we'll see our budgets increase by about 9% combined across all funds. The local tax requirement will go up fairly significantly by nearly about 13%, but that is in large part because of that general fund levy being approved. So that is a brief overview of those budgets. Any questions on them?
Did you say you talk about, because I guess I am wondering, when you've been running a deficit for a long time, you've been tightening your bootstraps, and then suddenly when you get up to normal, you need to buy, I guess I'm concerned about how much of an effect, for me, it's shoes. If I have a low paying job, I don't buy shoes. I get a high paying job, I suddenly need to spend $200 on new shoes. Are we going to see that sort of effect of a long time with, I know about yearly money we spend like salaries, that just goes in and out, but is there less equipment in the science labs or, are not building needs, because that's a separate fund, but are we going to see an effect of having been in a deficit for so long?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think there's, like I said, a lot of capital projects, some deferred maintenance issues, significantly deferred, that will need to be addressed. There's also some safety and security issues that are also going to be kind of at the top of the priority list. Matt kind of has been working with Jason on safety initiatives, as well as last year working through just compiling kind of a triaged deferred maintenance plan. We'll start rolling some of that stuff out, but Matt, you could probably talk more to that if you.
Yeah, in addition to what Chris just mentioned, safety and deferred maintenance, those are huge ticket items that more than absorb the difference in the levy versus the regular operational costs. But we've also squeezed a lot of positions out of non-teaching positions. So I think what happens when you have short budgets over the years is you reduce staff in the maintenance department, you reduce staff in the central office, you reduce staff in the tech department, and we're reaping the consequences of those decisions for the last however many years. And our facilities have taken a beating through neglect. And that's the most obvious visual example. But I would also say on a system structure, when we don't have the manpower capacities to have efficiencies that most AA districts do, because we run so lean administratively and with tech support and those types of things. But we're not ready to also make those recommendations to add those back yet, because we want to be more thorough and thoughtful before we're adding positions. There might be lots of different ways you can tackle those problems, but it's very obvious to me that the issues we need to address exceed the maximum budget. So we need to be thoughtful about how we move forward.
All right, any other questions on the the high school budgets? On the next slide there, Peter, I just kind of want to highlight one of the structural kind of fundamental issues that we need to be dealt with. And I'll try to talk through that chart to hopefully kind of draw in and highlight what this issue is. What the chart is it shows you all of our current grade bands from kindergarten through 12th in the first column. And this was info from a couple weeks back, but that was enrollments at each of those grade bands across the district. The third column shows you the maximum class size per state law, right? 20 in a kindergarten classroom, 30 as a max in a 12th grade classroom. The next column over shows you the required teacher FTE based on enrollment and those class sizes. So if in kindergarten you take enrollment of 262, you divide it by the 20 as a maximum class size, it tells you that you need 13 FTE. So to kind of point out the obvious here, you need 50% more FTE at the kindergarten grade band than you do at the 7th grade band, right? Because the class sizes, the max class sizes are 50% larger at that grade band. So if you take, moving over to the next column, total enrollment in the the elementary district, and then total enrollment in the high school district, you'll notice they're very, very close to each other. However, high school does have more staff. But the next column over will show you that currently, to meet accreditation standards, which is those class sizes, we have to have 12 more certified FTE in our elementary district than we do in the high school district. And that's due to those smaller class sizes. That difference, when you take average salary cost at about $70,000 right now, that additional 12 FTE translates into about an $800,000 salary cost that's higher in the elementary district relative to the high school district. So we have an issue on the salary side, but we also have an issue on the funding side. And the very last column shows that currently, this is our general fund revenue divided by these enrollment counts. We're getting $8,004 per student on the elementary side this year, compared to $9,400 per student on the high school side. So that's a $1,400 disparity in funding on a per student basis. You take that $848,000 in additional salary costs, add that $1,300 revenue disparity, and multiply that by the enrollment, it totals a disparity amount of $5 million between the elementary and the high school district. And so when we talk about some of these kind of structural issues that we really need to kind of focus our energy at in this decennial study, and hopefully getting the ear of legislators to say, like, we need some, I guess equity is not a good word anymore, but we need some funding equity between these two districts. If we have to have more FTE, we need more money for those. So that's just kind of the one thing I want to highlight. If it seems like the elementary district is going to be continually up against kind of the threshold of breaking even, it is because of this. And so unless we see some of this stuff change in Helena, we're going to probably see this be an ongoing issue. Like I said, the high school is in in stable condition right now, but we do have a lot of deferred maintenance and safety issues to work through there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good, my first. The numbers are so obvious. Like you have less students per classroom, you're going to need more teachers. Just so that I kind of know, and anybody can answer this, what has been historically the argument for why you would fund elementary less than high school when you also require smaller class sizes? Is there an argument
No,
that's
there's-
still being made?
There's actually no rationale from the history of Montana on why we got set up this way. Miss Corrigan and I were able to attend a Edunomics summit hosted by MTSBA and a litany of other groups. And the presenter is just a data researcher. And one of the pieces of data that she presented is how different all states are and how they fund. And there were 2 states that had the funding mechanism that we have, where they have lower accreditation numbers for elementary and they have less funding. Some states have higher funding for elementary students and less per student funding for middle school and high school students, and vice versa. It's kind of all over the map across the United States, but Montana and one other state, I think it was New Jersey, are unique to where they have, more funding for high school, even though the accreditation standard is higher. So you can elaborate if you'd like.
No, I mean, you're right on with that, Matt. But the thing I wanted to add to that is this would be a perfect thing for us to draft a resolution to go to MTSBA, which will go to their legislative platform with the decennial study going on right now. And then this resolution process, I think that would be a wonderful topic because everybody across the state has the same issue. And I just made a note to myself to ask MTSBA to help draft a resolution for that that would come up at their meeting in the fall. Because we do have to get started, drafting the legislative platforms. I know Chris and I sat on the phone for 3 hours one time trying to testify for it, and they were not listening at that time either. So
It's hard to, I'm sure they don't want to talk about this if there's no good argument for not changing it. Like the only way to win that argument is to not have the discussion. I mean, if there's no logical reason.
Eric Militich and I were able to participate as delegates for SAM Delegate Assembly in the spring. And coming out of the SAM Delegate Assembly, this was the number one issue from that organization to push forward. It doesn't mean anything other than it puts the discussion on the table as the number one priority from that group. And to Sue's point, you have to at least create the space for the conversation to happen. And the decennial study is the place for this conversation. The decennial study is intended to, every 10 years, take a look at, does your funding formula match up what your state obligations are for? And this is the clear first conversation in that discussion. Yeah.
All right. Go ahead. Yeah.
So actually, my first point was Sue's, of course. I was going to say boards are allowed to bring to MTSBA resolutions, and I would really like to see this board think about that. So glad you're on it, Sue. I hope you made a beautiful graphic that displays very clearly. I hope that's getting out to the press and to the legislatures because you made it very clear. And the third thing that I might add to it is that this is true for every district across the state. Our particular district may have an additional burden of the 5 elementaries so that we may not have 20 students within Peterson. We might have 18 at Peterson, and it could equal a whole extra class, but they're spread out. So the need to spread that out over 6 buildings, adds to that pressure and that problem.
is actually a very significant issue. Those rounding problems is how I think of them. Yeah, you might have capacity of 20 students, but to put people inside their neighborhood boundaries appropriately and fill all 20 seats is actually impossible. Yeah.
Distribution, not rounding.
Yeah. Well, yeah. All right. Next up, I'll just touch on this really briefly. It's not that we haven't had a capital expenditure program in place. We're just kind of formalizing what that is going to be. So the administrators were briefed on their welcome back day. We're going to create a process where there's a window of time from September till around mid-October every year where everybody who's over a department or manages a building has the opportunity to put in requests, whether it's for equipment or projects that would likely be $25,000 or more. We're going to collect requests just to make sure we kind of have a really clear state of the union in regard to needs as well as wants potentially. Then after that mid-October deadline, we'll review them at the district level, prioritize them with our existing list of projects, and then finalize a list that we would foresee rolling out in the following fiscal year. So we're planning to be about 9 to 10 months ahead on our planning so that once we've approved a list, brought it to you guys for review in the winter, we can get out to bid through the winter into the spring and then begin provisioning funds for those projects that are starting in the following year. So I think one of the things we've seen is in a district the size of ours, we really need to be out in front quite a ways in order to make sure that we're able to execute and get all the planning and all the process stuff done. And then also, I think in addition, it's just going to allow our building people to ensure that their voices are heard and not just the loudest, squeakiest requesters getting the ear of whoever's going to run a project for them. So that's going to be rolling out this fall. It's just going to give us a better way, hopefully, of just managing our infrastructure longer term and keeping you guys in the loop on that process. As far as sustainability goes, we are finalizing our staffing metrics list that we actually started working through last year. We pretty much have K-5 finished with the exception of paraprofessionals, but for every instructional position across the district, we have been working on what the optimal enrolled to FTE kind of ratios are. We'll work through the operational staffing metrics as well, with the intent that after every second count day, which our enrollment count days are in this fall and then in February. Once that second count is done, we really have a very, very good idea of what our budget will be for the coming year. And then we can kind of evaluate our staffing ratios based on current enrollment, what the next year's budgets are going to be, and make incremental staffing adjustments, whether it's adding or reducing, really in an effort to avoid any significant types of corrections like we had to do this past year. If we can incrementally adjust over time, it's going to do significantly better for morale across the district and just allow us to remain healthy and nimble longer term. So that's we'll bring you kind of a finalized list of metrics to the finance committee and then eventually to the board at some point once those are wrapped and completed. Beyond that, I just kind of want to touch on one kind of thing that Matt brought up earlier in this conversation. And when it comes to sustainability, one thing that I think I'm not sure if it's always appreciated in this district. We are one of the largest employers in the county, right? We have instructional operations at 13 sites, is it currently? Plus a significant number of other buildings that we manage and infrastructure, equipment. We are a complex organization. And to sustain ourselves long-term, we really will need people who have niche skill sets, who specialize in very particular areas to sustain our operations. To be honest, we're not, we get by right now operationally, but we're just getting by. It's always a strain, at least from my office, in my point of view. That's, we're one of the biggest employers. It would make sense that we have some of the best technicians, some of the best skill sets recruited working here to ensure our operations are running well, so that continuity of instruction is like automatic. And I think to sustain ourselves over time, we're going to need to invest in making sure that we have people with the appropriate skill sets in place. And it will cost money in order to do that. That's my little bit. That's about all on the budget update for this coming year. The last slide is on the interlocal. And this, oops, one up there, Peter, right there. That's really hard to see. The balance at the end of the year in the interlocal fund was $2.7 million to end the year. We transferred, like I said, in total $3.2 million out on a year-over-year basis. What we have kind of inside the interlocal right now is non-obligated funds on the elementary side of about $580,000, and then non-obligated on the high school side of about $848,000. The rest of it is kind of broken up for curriculum, some maintenance projects, and then as well, we're going to look at potentially down the road starting to bring some of our transportation routes in-house. I think we talked about that in a couple of meetings in the past. And so transportation did have a little bit of extra money left over this year. We're provisioning that and setting it aside for some of that future stuff that we're looking at doing with the transportation department. So all said and done, 2.7 is the current balance, with about 1.3 of that essentially unobligated between the elementary and high school.
I just want to note that I know it's hard to swallow when we have, we're paying the tab on a $3 million deficit from last year. But our recommendation was to keep staffing levels where they were last year while we work through the thoughtful process that we did for staffing reductions. I would make that recommendation again. So I think we did it right. It's a really big hit to the interlocal. It's, cutting that in half. But that's the reason we had the interlocal agreement. And, if we rewind the clock, if we would have made that decision to make all of those reductions to account for that $3 million the year before, that would have been really tough on our students and our student programs. So this is a balance sheet that's hard to swallow that, but at the same time, it was a good investment. We invested in our teachers, which kept programming for our students, and we worked through the process last year, and I'd make that recommendation again.
I have just a comment I want to make in this whole budget process. The thing that we need to keep in mind, and I like your slides that say the why, but I'm not hearing a whole lot on the effect our budget decisions have on students. And I think we need to kind of switch how we're looking at things. I mean, the reason why we are maintaining, the lowest class sizes that we possibly can with these budget constraints is because that's what is best for students. And I even the comment where, we're going to have the least negative effect. How about let's have a positive effect on student progress? But I think all these decisions, we need to say, what effect does this have on the students? Yes, it affects accreditation. Yes, it affects, our staffing levels. But we're here because of the students. And I think we really need to keep that in mind. I know I was trying to tell that to Jack, but he said I was being too pie in the sky.
Sue, you bring up a really good point. I'd say the decisions are made that way, but how we're communicating has not followed that those same talking points. Our narrative when we were running a levy was about our programs and what was at stake and why the levy mattered. And those were the conversations that really resonated with people. And so the spirit of how we spend our money is tracking. The conversation and how we discuss it, you're right, needs to follow some of the more detailed pieces that drive the conversation. But you're spot on.
I mean, I think I really agree with Matt. I agree with Sue in that we're not being explicit about it, but I really do trust that we are implicit in it, that it is what started these thoughts in places was what can we do for the best. I mean, I truly believe everybody in these 17 buildings, did you say? At every moment and every decision is keeping in their heads what is best for the students. But I just wanted to check, Chris, that I understood you. So your suggestion is over the next 2 to 5 years, whatever time frame, not immediately, not forever in the future, invest in specialized skill people so that we can run things smoother and we're not using the people who are better at other things to do a not as perfect job on something. So people who will know where the box is at least and not have to do all that work to get up to speed. And so your suggestion is that we look at skills to streamline our operation. Is that what you were saying? I'm just trying to make sure that I really understood you because it was not as clear. My mind fuzzed out.
Yeah, I believe that's right. And I think I'm just speaking on my own. I'm not necessarily speaking on like conversations we've had at the central office but yes, we are a very large organization. We need to sustain ourselves over time, people with skill sets that are very specialized. And in order to build the systems and processes necessary to handle, like, let me just give you a quick example. When the principals came back, the very first day that they came back, we rolled out a new application that lets them see their current staff list as it exists in our human resources system, right? They had 90 plus adjustments that needed to be made. Like, they submitted within about 15 minutes of time. Those 90 adjustments mean people's funding mechanisms are switching. It means deductions are switching. It means we need to update our substitute system to make sure that that teacher that just moved over here is now properly reflected in that system. Like, there's a whole cascading chain of events every time just a single personnel action item is taken. So we finish on our side with the business office, but HR still has about 4 steps they need to process through. It's just one example, but there's a whole host of things, whether it's preventative maintenance programs to ensure like our infrastructure isn't deferred, that we're staying current on top of it, right? That takes people with really special skill sets who aren't actually out there pulling wrenches, but who are administrating that program. And so there's a whole host of things I think that that for sustainability we'll need to invest in over time.
Any other questions? Chris, I just want to say thank you for all the work you've put in to the budget. Not only for this year's budget, but here over the last year. This is my 5th year on the board, and we've had multiple budget discussions, but we've never had someone that's come in and really given us the clarity that you've given us that I think it's really helped the board in making some of the tough decisions we've had to make over the last year. So I just want to say thank you for that, and really helping us, I think, get a better understanding of our budget than I think we've had in quite a while. So at least for me anyway. So thank you. Moving on, final adoption of the 25-26 elementary budget. Do you have any further discussion with that, Chris?
No, the document there is attached in there is just the formal budget document we sent to OPI. The numbers are all the same as what we're showing in the last slides.
Okay, with that, this will be elementary only. Do we have motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Ursula. Do we have? Thank you, Sue. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, elementary only. All in favor of adopting the elementary 25-26 budget, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up is the adoption of the high school 25-26 budget. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Will. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ursula. Any further discussion on the high school budget? Seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up is the insurance financials. Chris, you're taking this too?
Okay. Yeah.
Can you go to the email I just sent you and put the attachment up on the screen, please?
This will be fun.
It could be anything.
Yeah, Scott.
Let's see.
Or-
Find a native computer user.
Pete's got it. Jack just sent Pete an email that Jack would like put up on the screen. And then scroll down to the third page.
Jack, can you turn your mic on here? We'll talk through this.
To where you see circles on the fourth page, maybe. Oh, there you go, on the right side there. Can you enlarge the right side there?
It's the third page.
Third page.
And then he circles the thing, third circle.
Yeah, can you enlarge this right here?
Can you do it again?
So the reason why the health insurance plan has a profit this year is because the insurance premiums for stop loss were 700,000. The stop loss reimbursements we got were $1.6 million. It was not profitable for the insurance company.
Well,
Darn.
What else can you say?
Well, yeah.
Well, you
There's
have
a whole
to-
presentation.
No. There's not much of a presentation. Just on a year-over-year basis, we did have a improvement in our financial position to end the year. At the end of the 24 fiscal year, our equity balance was, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong screen. was about $1.1 million in the red. And that decreased to $600,000 to end this current year. So we did see an improvement. Obviously, to Jack's point, stop loss factors in to that. But I feel like there's been a lot of doom and gloom on insurance, and the costs have gone up substantially. To USI, who is our consultant for our insurance fund, to their credits, they priced our increase in fiscal year 25 to provision for about $500,000 of an increase in our reserves, or to bring us out of the red. And that didn't exactly materialize, but it came very close to. So kudos to those guys. We do have a lot of work to do on insurance this coming year. We are going to be meeting with some of the state health trust people here in the next few weeks, and looking at what they have to offer, and then kind of making some decisions on how to move forward from there. But we did see I believe, 14% increase in insurance premiums year over year from 25 to this current 26 year. So we just need to figure out the best path to sustainability and stability in that pricing, and hopefully see some of that volatility smooth off over time. But overall, a good year.
Go ahead, Ursula.
So better than it, oh, thank you. Better than it could be, but still ended in the red. And 14%, like it's been a while since I heard the predictions, but that is kind of like they say, I thought they were saying like 11 to 13% is what we should expect. 14 is a little higher than we were hoping. Is the final number, like you said, it had started off at it was like 1.5 million. We got it down to the 600,000, but it still is that 600,000 under, but the trajectory is better. Like,
Yeah. So, and it's a good question, because the negative balance is solely due to that loan payable, which is that interlocal loan payable. Were that not there, the balance will be positive by $60,000 to end the year. And so that is, I think, a future discussion that's probably worth having at finance or whatever, and then bringing a recommendation. There's arguments, I guess, both ways, but we should probably revisit, because it's just come up a bunch of times over the last couple of years, and kind of set our course on what we think is the best way forward with that loan.
Chris, do we have any update from the state insurance committee that, it's been going on for 2 years now, and we're not getting much information on it. So when you're able to bring us some information, I know I would like to hear it, and I'm sure the rest of the board would as well.
Hold your breath.
Thanks, Jack.
Yeah. It's all going to be rolling out very soon, because is it November that they have to have? So within the next few months, we'll have some.
Well, and Jack, maybe you and I should sit down and have a conversation about it. It sounds like it could be a good thing statewide, but I don't know. So, yeah.
I'd agree, Scott. In concept, it could be exceptional. It's the devil is going to be in the details. And so I think the clarity of those details will at least significantly influence how I feel about my opinion on whether we should go or not go. So if they can provide a real strong clarity on some key issues, I think that'll be the critical piece.
Sue, did you have something?
Now, I just wanted to add that the guy who's putting this program together and it's not your buddy,
No, it's not my
is
buddy.
willing to come up and give a presentation. He's been in the valley a couple times, hasn't he been
Yes,
here?
yes,
Yeah.
he has been.
Yeah. So, and he's very good. Would have a good explanation for us all.
Thank you. Any other questions for Chris on insurance? All right. Seeing none, next up is the elementary handbook. Sarah, are you taking this?
Sure. Yep. Happy to. Elementary K-5 and middle school. So what you have in front of you is the elementary K-5 handbook. We merged, I don't know how many years ago, to have all 6 schools have one handbook. The principals gave feedback and updates. Jen Stein took the lead as somebody who kind of consolidated that information, and then I reviewed it, as well as Peter, maybe. Pete was a huge help in wrangling all the different handbooks. Rebecca, I know you have some questions I'm happy to answer. Are there any other questions from board members before I jump into some of Rebecca's?
All I would say is that, Rebecca, if you can ask your question so that we all know, or at least you say what those questions are so that we know.
Yeah, absolutely. I printed them and have them in front of me. Rebecca, you want to take the lead on it?
I mean, the first thing is, as you all know from years of these meetings, especially Matt and Peter, I read these and these, it's unbelievable what great work everyone's done. I'm sure the principals of all the school, it's usually there's like literally 3 pages of micro edits and 2 pages of ha's, and then at least 3, what in the world? And there were like a few minor little questions. I mean, on all 5 handbooks, it's unreal. So awesome job, and bringing them into to match better, especially among the 2 high school ones and the 2 coaches ones in high school. I mean, really, it's really clear. A ton of work and really thoughtful work has gone in. So I mean, the first thing really is just thank you to everyone involved, because it's hard. It's a lot of work. But for the elementary, my only thing was actually a check-in. You know, you said that it's been a couple of years, and I was just wondering, are people liking having all the handbooks identical, or are they saying, oh, it'd be great if we had, you know, the link to our PTO, or, you know, just, is it working? Or do we need a 1-sheet addition for each school to a handbook or whatever?
So I just finished, as you know, my first year in this role. I didn't get any negative feedback, questions, really any feedback around handbooks from families, from parents, negative, positive, neutral, none. So I'm assuming no comment means they're working for our families. I was part of the conversation when principals first asked to have some consistency. And I think that was really just to ensure that they had fair practices across all 6 elementary schools. And so for that reason alone, I think it's a positive. I think our schools' websites have more detailed information for families that they can access. Their social media looks different. So I think it's working. Yeah.
And the other stuff was really just all minor stuff that just somebody might want to add. I mean, there was nothing else that was board level. I don't think, was there? Did I miss something?
No, I don't think so. I mean, there was one around discipline that you had just some questions around that I think would require more collaboration with the principals, but it's something I can definitely bring up as feedback. And if that group feels like we need to make an amendment, or the board feels like we should make an amendment, we're happy to do that. Okay.
What was the question about discipline? Like if it was going to potentially come back?
Because there's wasn't it just I think it was mostly just about tone, that it talked about that we brought in our systems of support in our descriptions of it, and then we'd moved right into discipline in a fairly harsh tone. And it was just, do we want to bring this into levels of thinking about it in terms of support, not punishment? I think, or was there something else that I forgot?
No, our policy around discipline is really clear, that it's moments for kids to learn, that there should be natural consequences, that it should be really restorative in nature, and our handbook should reflect that. I felt like the elementary, the K-5 did. When we get to the middle school one, I do think there's some probably massaging of that section.
Except that one weird paragraph
Around missing assignments and consequences for missing assignments. So when we get to KMS, I'll address that one.
Any other questions on the elementary handbook?
Are we entertaining a motion to move to approve the elementary?
Hold on one second.
Peter, you good? You good?
Yeah, I would entertain motion on the elementary handbook?
So
So-
moved.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. Ursula, okay, thank you, Sue. Thank you, Sue, for the second. Any further discussion on the elementary handbook? All right, seeing none, elementary only, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up is the KMS handbook. Sarah?
Sure, same kind of commentary. I think our principals do a great job reviewing these each year. They are lengthy, so I think we really appreciate when you guys bring up, hey, is this just something that's carried over year to year, or is this something we should really address? So again, Rebecca had a couple questions for me. One of them was around class assignments and homework, and it really speaks to missing assignments in our homework really threaten student success. And it talks about if you have behavior that's interfering or unproductive behavior that interferes with teaching and learning, you can be referred to the assistant principal. And then it kind of talks about, it goes straight into behavior, which I think is separate from behavior and discipline, which might be separate from class assignments and homework. So I would like to recommend, I actually had emailed Dallas, Marty, and Alex. I just got the feedback a couple hours ago, so I'm going to need a little bit of time, but I would like to recommend that the KMS handbook gets improved, noting that the section on class assignments and homework gets amended to include that we support students when they're not completing homework or they're not completing assignments, that we have levels of support to help them, and really that there are natural consequences. When you don't do your work, we focus on natural consequences, not necessarily traditional punishment. So with the board's approval, I'd love to recommend that we approve as is with the adjustment to that section.
And we regularly approve the handbooks and have certain improvements happen after.
Any other questions?
What page is that?
It is, give me 1 second.
You remember?
I just remember it was bad.
I'm giving you.
Sorry,
I'm sorry, trouble.
We love Bucky. It was probably just a mistake where they cut and pasted something. It just really was great. Oh, God.
I'm almost there. Okay, it is page 8, second to last paragraph.
Oh, Lynn was looking.
Yeah.
I was not trying to share.
Okay, so the motion would be to approve the handbook as written currently, but with a few modifications to come down the road.
And as amended.
As amended, okay.
And as amended.
And as amended. Thank you, Jack. I appreciate the help on that. So go ahead, Rebecca, or Ursula.
So I move that we approve the KMS handbook with amendments that are being made by the administration.
Okay, do we have a second? Thank you, Rebecca. Any further discussion? All right. Yep.
Rebecca already said it earlier about like bringing in FTE. You guys really are nailing it. I mean, I don't want to just like keep on jumping on the train, but like things are running pretty smoothly and things like that to be like, hey, good feedback. We can just change this right now. You guys are killing it. So kudos.
All right. Any other questions, comments? All right, seeing none, elementary only. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the high school handbook. Peter?
Yeah, I can take this one.
Thanks.
So, so obviously in the 3 years, have a lot of feedback, and we have worked really hard to, try to improve this. One of the things was we've talked last year about, Linderman. Obviously, the students fall under the Flathead and Glacier handbook, but one thing it did include was, the Linderman contract that Jody has, so that's just kind of outside, a little bit unique, just because of the program. So included that. So some of the questions that came up from Rebecca, and Rebecca, it's not by happenstance that you're on this committee. I do appreciate it, because we know you read it, we know you go through it, we know you do the due diligence, and we know it's a lot of work, because just going through these handbooks, and we go through them all year, it's daunting, and you miss some things, you really do, but we've really tried to improve them. Some of Rebecca's questions, do FHS and GHS need separate activities handbooks, combine them like the elementary? And I just said, you're correct. They're very similar. Mark and Matt worked together last year to try and align their handbooks. So they really did come together to make sure that they had it. But there's still a few differences that are unique to each school. And so that's why there's two different handbooks. Rebecca asked, in the where to pay activity fee, it does not mention you can now pay through Power School. This is something that Chris in the business office has worked on to try to streamline, the way that that parents are paying. So it's sent out to parents after the students are rostered, and this is a change this year. So before, parents would pay in the summer for all fees, and then students would not. If a student didn't make the team, then we'd have to refund. So it's just kind of going back to those systems and processes. And so, it's something well received by the ADs and the fiscal specialists. By the time we got to it, some parents may have already paid within that, but just really trying to streamline and make it okay. Hey, and then it's up to the coaches to hand the roster into the fiscal specialist, and then we have every student accounted for, and then we can count for the fund. So not only does
It just said, it said pay at the front office. I was like,
right, and they have specific instructions for sending it out to the parents on how you pay for that. So there's directions that the coaches give the students. So hopefully I answered that, and I did respond, in the email. Your other question was, the coach advisor director has the responsibility to meet with each participant who's not selected and explain the reasons for the decision. So this would be in a cut sport. And I just said, to my knowledge, this happens because it is emphasized by the ADs. I know we don't post lists. I said, however, I'll check with Abby and Matt to make sure this is the case, because I believe, that every coach, if it's cut sport, that they meet with the students individually and talk to them. So I'm hoping that.
and that's another just huge improvement that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
That there were tons of things in the handbooks, and the coaches particularly, that I'd never seen as a parent, and now we are seeing all these things. And it's just, so it's not just the handbook; it's actually that the schools are running by the rules that they're sharing with the parents, and it's really great to see.
Okay. And then the other question, on activity transportation, it specifies Kalispell, not the Flathead Valley. So we do not always provide transportation to Whitefish and Columbia Falls. I know this was something I stressed with the ADs last year, that the students should not be driving to those, and that's usually outlined in the coaches' expectations and through the ADs. So yeah, they definitely shouldn't be doing, although sometimes I can tell you it does, hey, they're driving to kids sport, they're driving down to Legends to go to practice, but that's, within, Kalispell or Kalispell proper, but that you're correct. That should not be happening. And that kind of goes to the next question. Also on transportation, it doesn't mention students driving themselves. I just said, this is outlined in each of the expectations for coaches on their transportation, but you're correct. It's not specifically outlined in the handbook, but anytime, the students have to be accounted for. And if there's alternative transportation, so say somebody goes to a event and they want to ride back with the parents, then they have to have a sign-off form. So that prevents them from, driving themselves. So there are some safeguards in place. We can't take a look at every single thing. So, try to do our best, but those are all really great questions. Appreciate it. And I will just circle back with both Abby and Matt on just some of those other things, just to emphasize it.
Thank you, Pete. Any other questions for Peter on the high school handbook?
I'm not bringing it
And activities? Go ahead, Rebecca.
I guess this is a comment. Just, I know some members of the board and some members of the faculty had real issues with the uh, incentive for attendance. And it's nice to see that you guys have really thought through it and that they're again aligned by both schools. And but I actually do have to be a plug for it, that I never liked it as an attendance incentive, but I actually thought the pedagogical system of saying we will make finals into extra credit, essentially. We will make finals a thing for students where they can only gain credit for it, they can't lose, actually takes a lot of testing pressure off. And I actually think it's a brilliant answer. It was just an answer to the wrong question. The question shouldn't be linking it to attendance. I love the concept of putting in what used to be the attendance incentive for finals period, saying let's let finals be a place where you can show us what you've learned and grow and add, and not have it be this stressful thing where you can tank your grade. So oddly enough, even though I've been fighting against the attendance incentive, this made me really realize that it was being using it for attendance because it wasn't in line with learning, and that it's actually kind of a great idea for learning. I'm for all final. I mean, I'm not saying anyone has to do, this is just one board member's realization, but I like the thought of making finals be extra credit. I think it was kind of an, test pressure is an honest thing for many, many students. And it took all this fear out.
Thank you for that comment, Rebecca. Any other comments, questions? All right, do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the high school handbook.
Thank you, Ursula. Do we have a second?
No, should I say all the handbooks?
No, just the high school. Handbooks, plural.
Handbooks. Thank you.
A second.
Thank you, Will. Any further questions? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the elementary consent agenda. If you've had an opportunity to review that, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Sue. Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Thank you, Rebecca. Any further questions? All right, elementary only. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up is the district-wide consent agenda. If you've had an opportunity to review that, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Sue.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ursula.
Second it.
Any further questions on the high school or district-wide consent agenda? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up is the trustees report. Carrie, do you have a trustees report?
Nope, I don't have anything particular.
All right, thank you. Ursula? Jack?
No.
Sue?
I just want to say that I sent Lance Melton at MTSBA a message, and he said it would be very helpful to have a specific resolution on the decrement, but on eliminating the decrement. There are some, it's a lengthy message, so I'll call him tomorrow and let you know what he says.
Thanks for doing that. If you need anything from me, let me know.
I'm sure I will.
All right. Thanks for doing that, Sue. Appreciate that. Rebecca?
I was also going to offer support for Sue. So if you want, I'm not the board chair, but if you want, somebody to help nitty gritty writing crap, we all know that I'm willing to copy edit at least. Although Will's the true master of copy editing, by the way, if anyone needs it. Yes. Again, I'm just in gush mode. I just really, we're starting a new school year. Sometimes at this time of year, it's easy to feel, have we spent our summer effectively? Have we spent our last year effectively? Have we built and grown and put the pieces in place so that we can start the year well? And after this meeting, I feel it's just clear and obvious. The answer is a resounding yes, that clearly over the last couple months and over the last year, we've been putting in place stuff that we've been wanting to really work on for years. And just my thanks to all the administrators who have managed to get all this stuff done. And I think it's going to be a brilliant year. I think the kids will be really happy. I think the students will learn a lot.
Well,
Nothing.
I just have a couple things. First up, I'm taking this over from Sue. We have 3 board members that are not here tonight because they are at the kickoff of the Great Fish fundraising. And so I am going to ask that our board has 100% donation to the Great Fish fundraiser. Doesn't matter how much, even if it's 25 cents, if you can give to it, we would appreciate it. It always looks great when our board can say that we had 100% participation in that. So that's my plea to the entire board. And then, secondly, we had new teacher orientation starting yesterday, and the KEEP program did an amazing job. I have a first-year teacher in my household, in my basement. And he came home and just raved about the work that the KEEP staff has done, the amount of information that was provided to him was amazing. He said he went there with 100 questions, and before he even had the opportunity to ask, the staff was able to answer all of his questions. So they do a great job in their new teacher orientation, getting them comfortable with their classrooms, what they need to be looking out for the beginning of the school year. So kudos to the KEEP staff, kudos to the other senior staff that are there to help support those first year teachers. So good job to everybody. Appreciate that. It really, I think it really helps bring in new teachers and makes them feel comfortable as they're starting out. So thank you very much. That's all I got. Matt, going on to your staff.
All right, I got a couple things. I'm going to start with some maintenance stuff that we've been tracking all summer. Just give an update on that. We were able to walk the middle school project today, the heating system. They're on track. We've made a few change orders just because we've picked up some stuff in the old building that we're taking care of, circulating pumps, things like that, that will extend the timeline of the project, but it'll be in crawl spaces and mechanical rooms. And we'll do that work on the weekends or outside of school, so it shouldn't be a distraction to school. But if you walk in KMS right now, it looks rough. I mean, we've had contractors in every inch of that building working on the heating system, and they're going to be out of there this week. So there's, you know what a construction site looks like when you're just right at the end and you're trying to get everything buttoned up. We still have some control stuff that people will be in and out until school starts. But anyway, very happy with that project. Morris Merrill's done a really nice job of tracking all the details. Did a nice job of walking the project today with Mr. Stuker, and he feels comfortable with the messaging he can have for the staff on that. The other project we had at KMS was the roof above the admin offices. So that project got delayed a little bit because of rain, and then we were able to do the project. We got some good weather, and then they peeled that back, and we had assumed that there was some water damage in the roof. We knew it was really weak. We pulled it back, and there ended up being more water damage than we thought, which cost us a little bit in a change order to redo some of the underneath the initial layer, but also was validation that we did that project at the right time. So we were really flirting with disaster on that roof project at KMS. So I'm glad we moved forward with it. I'm happy with how that turned out, and we've moved that along. The last one is like the skylights in this space. That project's been delayed because of getting the skylights here. And so Morris Merrill's pressing on it, trying to figure out when they can do that. it's an interesting structure because we can, once we get all of the skylights on site, they can do the work in a day. But it's just about getting it here, getting a crane here, and then be able to do the work. And it's really up to the manufacturer on when they can manufacture and commit to a date. And then from there, you're kind of picking weather and picking when you want to pull the roof off of a library at a high school. So I don't have a firm date. I'm pretty disappointed in that, but that's just where that project is now. The last one go ahead, Jack.
Will that clock get fixed when we start right?
Maybe we can just boom somebody in on that crane and change the battery on that sucker, huh? It's to make you think the meeting went long and it's time to adjourn. That's why we have it set there.
Been here all night?
Been here all night. There we go. The last project is the lead abatement project that's going on also here. So that project, I'm really happy with the complete where we ended and the purpose of that project to do all the lead abatement and repiping. There's been some things that we found in the old structure, specifically in the bathrooms, where we've had to work around some things. And then we've been able to process a couple change orders to add some drinking fountains. That was Joe Biengo. Nobody can say his last name, so I'm not wrong. But he's just a great asset to our district. One of the people that's really, I think, overlooked a lot of times. He does a lot of yeoman work in the background. But he's been with me on a lot of these projects, just tracking some of these details and working with contractors. And he noticed an opportunity there where we could take some benefit in some reduction in the scope of work and turn it towards some fountains, adding the water bottle filling stations across different campuses. So we've leveraged some of the savings from different areas and do that. The other thing we noticed with the project was just a lab in one of our high school spaces where the gas lines had been disconnected and then not reconnected properly. It wasn't a safety issue, but it was an opportunity to go back and do it right. And so that work's going to continue during Christmas break. That's the only thing that's going to linger from that project, since they got to come back in and tap into that Christmas break. So that's a lot of facility stuff, but that's where we stand with that. The other thing I'm going to notice, we had our K-12 principals back. What was that, last week already? It was just great. We have some terrific leaders in our district, and so they hit the ground running. Just really proud of the work they're organizing. And it was fun to look at last year's K-12 meeting agenda, and it was awful, right? Because we were talking about last year at this time of year, how we were going to work through budget deficits, what the budget deficits were, what the RIF process was going to be, finishing negotiations. We had a lot of just tension last year around those things. I'm happy to report that very anticlimactic, but also we're just in this spot of we don't have anything new. We don't have these new initiatives that we're rolling out. The work that we're doing this year is really about sustaining the work that we have started. And so we're continuing to plug along. I know it doesn't look as good sometimes, but that work feels really good to our team, feels good to our principals. And on that note, on Friday, we have our first instructional leaders meeting with the middle school and high school instructional leaders. We made that shift last year from department heads to instructional leaders, rewrote that job description, and there's a full training. That training and kind of the subsequent trainings are really the benefit of the hard work that happens in the off season, so to speak, with our superintendent team. And I'm just super proud of the efforts to keep the main thing last year, despite all of the other stuff we had going on, but to continue to focus on excellence in teaching and learning. And I'm really excited for that training. I think it's going to be good for all of the participants, and just to see how that work is going to lead to empowering teachers to own more of the clarity of what we expect kids to know and be able to do, and then how that translates into empowering students. And our responsibility as a district is to make sure that students have agency, and that happens from empowered teachers can empower students. So just really excited about that work, and just kudos to the people that have been putting that together in the background.
Just probably next month, you guys are going to just be seeing some information come out from just our activities department. I think about 3.5 years ago, you guys approved baseball, but we put that on hold. So I've been working with the ADs on just some activities. And so one of the first things we want to do is hey, what is our need? What do our student athletes, our student population want? So we're going to be putting out some surveys. Those will most likely be going out this week. We're not only going to send it out to 9 through 12, but we also want to drop down into 6 through 8, and we want to try to get them out to as many partner schools as we can to find out, hey, what is the interest level, so that we know we're matching our activities, and that's where our energy is going. So the other thing that we'll look at too is we'll look at proportionality. Hey, do we have the same number of females and the same number of males? And then we also have to see if we're meeting the Ridgeway settlement, where you're offering the same amount of sports. It'd be a little different this year because girls flag football will be a sanctioned sport. So that changes things for us. So we're working on that. And then, then be able to make some decisions and put some information for you. So you should be seeing some of that probably the first meeting in September, kind of a comprehensive report on what we're getting back. I say most likely will, but if we can't pull it together, then we're gonna take our time and make sure that we're doing it right, and then most likely making a decision on where we're going to go by the end of September.
I just want to shout out the literacy conference that's happening here at Flathead High School all day tomorrow. Kelly Higgins, Danny Birtsfield, quite a few of our own KPS staff are coordinating an amazing event. A lot of our staff are actually presenting. So if anyone can stop by Flathead tomorrow and give our people some kudos, we'd love it.
Chris, do you have anything? Carrie, do you have anything? Okay.
Doesn't Eric get to say something?
Eric doesn't have anything. Next up, let's see, special event, the 25th. Matt, you want to say anything about the all staff in service?
Yes, in my correspondence with you guys last week, I noted that we don't have anything on the agenda for the 26th. So the budget is really the meeting we need to have in August. The last several years, we've changed dates around just because of when OPI requires that final budget adoption. But that's really governed the second meeting. That got approved tonight, so we don't have an agenda item for the 26th. But the 25th is when we're having an all staff welcome back. And for us, this is our annual opportunity to get our staff together and message what the vision is in our district, to stay true to the strategic plan that we've been working on. So I would love for you guys to join us. This is an important meeting. It's all staff. The FHS auditorium will be packed. We're really excited about the agenda. It'll be you'll hear from lots of different voices. And I really want you guys to be there. So if you can make it.
And this is instead of the bus tour.
Yeah, this is last year we did this. We did an all staff meeting as well, but yeah, before that it was yellow bus tour, and then I think before that it was all staff coming together. That was before I got here, but yeah.
I think the time's wrong because I got that invite the first time at 8:30 to 10:30, and then I got a second one that said 8 o'clock. I think the breakfast and networking is 8 to 8:30, and the actual program starts at 8:30. So you send out two different.
No, I just sent out one. It's but
No. Is it 8 or 8:30?
the breakfast starts at 8. Program starts at 8:30.
And then, we are going to have a meeting going over the
We are leaving it on the schedule.
It's leaving on the schedule.
We don't have an agenda item yet.
And
for that
that's,
meeting.
I was like, okay, we'll cancel the meeting and then it's up there. That was, I don't think
Yeah.
that was there. So it's
Yeah.
on the schedule.
So we're just leaving it as a placeholder on the calendar. But right now we don't have agenda item. So if we continue to not have agenda item, I'll talk to Mr. Warnell about whether we meet or we cancel the meeting.
If we don't come to breakfast, we're doing the meeting.
Yeah.
Come to the all staff anywhere else.
Okay, and then next up is the Personnel Finance Committee meeting on September 5th at the district office from 9 to 10:30. And all staff or board meeting on the 26th of August and on the 9th of September. And with that,
wholeheartedly move to adjourn. Because
Thank,
everyone wants to go hear Joan Jett.
yeah, Joan just playing tonight. Awesome. Thank you, Rebecca. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sue. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, everybody.